In Tswana, Kalahari means great thirst. Water is scarce here, and rain seldom replenishes the red earth. Sadly, this once harmonious ecosystem has been damaged by the introduction of invasive alien plant species. Cylindropuntia fulgida variety mamilata, also known as boxing glove cactus, is one such alien.
Boxing glove cactus has been a huge problem in the Northern Cape province.
If we don't remove boxing glove, we're going to end up with situations as we have experienced in South Africa and Australia over the last 100 years, where these invaders are covering millions of hectares.
Ek is Cassie Miller, ek is op die plaas Gannapoort, so 65 km noord van Appington. Ek het so 16 jaar gelede op die plaas gekom en met my aankoms het ek die kaktusse hier gekry. Hulle was reeds gevestig in 'n groot populasie. Dit is ideale klimaat vir die kaktus om te groei.
As 'n gedeeltjie van dit op die grond val, dan ontkiem dit onmiddellik en dit groei. So oor die langtermyn sal dit 'n groot probleem vir die boerdery veroorsaak het. So dit is definitief tot 'n voordeel dat ons die kaktus so gou as moontlik van die omgewing af verwyder.
Die verspreiding van hierdie plant word baie maklik. Deur 'n groot haal-by, harde reën, spoel dit in jou rivierlopies af. Die kleinste soogdier, van 'n muis tot 'n bees, versprei hierdie stukkies plant, want stukkies breek af, 'n dier wat daar verbystap, kry 'n stukkie aan sy poot, hy val 3 km of 4 km van daar af val hy weer, en daarvan af versprei het weer, so dit versprei regtig waar enorm vinnig. Ek het al gesien by my, waar jy net met die voertuig verby 'n plant ry, dan steek dit in die wiel in, en so ry jy vir kilometers na jou ander gronde toe, en jy versprei dit ook daarso.
At dry season, the goats and the sheep try to eat this plant, and it has got spines which have got hooks.
Twee van die lammetjies het hulle se monde seer, lyk soos baarse, begin mak.
Once it's infested an area, it uses all the water resources in the area, especially in the Kalahari where it's reasonably dry. It starts cutting down the amount of area available for grazing. The sheep don't want to go into the area because of the thorns, and because there's no competition for it. It starts spreading further and further and further.
Boxing glove cactus is native to the Sonora Desert, which is northern parts of Mexico and the southern states of the USA, Arizona and New Mexico. But the boxing glove cactus is actually a genetic aberration of the original Cylindropuntia choya, the one Cylindropuntia fulgida variety fulgida, with the many spines. This is the more serious weed because of its very vicious spines. I mean, you look at this, you put it on and it doesn't fall off. Ouch. These things have incredible spines, but this one is much more benign. It doesn't stick as bad as the other one, but it does. But the spines are not as vicious as this one. The infestations is interesting enough. They have all emerged from rockeries, from gardens.
Ek dink die oorsprong van die kaktus is hier van die rotsteen af, wat dit maar redelik goed versprei het daar en dan oor die draad gegooi is en so het dit maar versprei deur die diere.
It was obviously introduced as an ornamental because it looks strange, it looks exotic.
In die Kalahari by ons en in die Karoo dink ek waar dit ook glo baie staan, is enige groen ding 'n mooi ding.
And it was easily cultivated, so it's easy to pass it from one farm or one garden to the next one.
Die een kry 'n cactus by die ene en so word dit uitgeruil onder die vrouens en dan word daar rotsteentjies gebou en so die cactus en hom maar aangeteel en versprei onder die mense in die omgewing.
Initially, we first started trying to move it physically by hand, taking a spade and spitting it out. Then we started getting chemicals. Garland was one of the ones we used. I think the other one was MSR, which we sprayed the plants, and they had a limited success with that. But the problem is it becomes very expensive.
Ons probeer om hom van brand te steek, laat ons kyk of hy miskien gaan doodgaan. Maar dit het nie gehelp nie. Want hy het pas nou 'n diep wortel groeisel onder die grond in.
To prevent irreparable damage to the Northern Cape and Kalahari grasslands, an affordable and sustainable solution had to be found. The answer was biocontrol.
The basic principles behind biological control are that an alien organism comes into our environment from overseas. So it comes from another habitat and it leaves its natural enemies behind. So we go back to that habitat and we look for those natural enemies and we bring them here and we test them to make sure they're safe, and we also test them to make sure that they have an impact on the target weed. So the way you do it is you have your central target plant, which is usually the alien, and then you pick basically related species, usually plants in the same family or genus as your target, and then you test the insects against those other plants, and this is called host specificity. And what we're looking for is an insect that will only eat the target. And even if the target plant then becomes diminished by the action of the insect can't attack anything else because it's unable to. It cannot develop on any other plant.
We have to give guarantees to the Department of Agriculture and Environmental Affairs that the insects that we introduce and release will not impact on our native biodiversity and will not impact on crops. But once we're finished with this testing, we are fairly certain what the host range of that insect is. And on that basis, we make a decision or a recommendation as whether to release it or not.
So this is obviously a very drawn-out process, and on average it takes about 3 years to complete those tests. So the agent or the potential agent is effectively in jail for 3 years. We cannot allow that animal to go anywhere. And that's why you have a facility like this that is completely sealed. There's only one entrance, it's security controlled, and you come through a double door system that takes you through a dark room, and that the idea there is that if there are insects on you that they will fly off towards the light that's in the room. We have restricted access, you have to wear a lab coat. The drains don't empty out into normal drains. There's a special system they go through. The air system, the air is filtered before it leaves the building. So we do everything, again, to an international protocol to make sure that no animals can escape from this facility until we're ready to actually release them out into the wild.
One natural enemy of boxing glove cactus is a host-specific biotype of the cochineal insect.
The cochineal insect Dictylopius tomentosus is highly effective into controlling the boxing glove cactus in South Africa.
The cochineals are typically a type of woolly aphids or mealybug type of group of insects. The females are covered with a layer of white hair or white filaments that cover the body for protection. There are 9 species in the genus Dactylopius, which are all the cochineals, of which we've used 4 for biocontrol. And these 4 species have had major impacts on several cactus invaders. And in this particular case on the boxing glove, I found this particular cochineal on a related cactus species in Baja California South, which is thousands of kilometers away from the center of distribution of the weed.
Ek was die eerste plaas gewees wat hierdie biologiese middel wat hulle kom proef het hier by my.
The first release of cochineal insect in Nino Farm took place in October 2011.
Ek het besluit, okay, ek gaan hierdie plante met 'n gifstof bespuit en tot ek agtergekom het dit is regtig 'n duur opsie, het ek vir Working for Water genader om my te kom help. Hulle het vir my gesê hulle het 'n nuwe gogga wat hulle by my wil los. Dis 'n tipe cochineal. En ek was baie pessimisties vir dit gewees. Ek het gedink dit gaan nog 'n nie werkende verhaal wees. So ek het vir hulle 'n voorstel gemaak. Kom ons maak 'n sekere kamp van my, maak ons 'n biologiese werk van en die ander kant gaan ons met garlons bespuit. Ons het die garlon gespuit, 2 spanne was hierso Working for Water, so trend R150,000 se gif op 4 hektaar uitgespuit. Verskriklik duur. 40 mense op jou plaas. Dit het gewerk. 3 weke daarna dan sien jy die plante se koppe hang. Die plante is besig om dood te gaan. In dieselfde tyd het ons op die ander gedeelte die cochineal gelos.
After 3 months, he called and says, the biocontrol is not working. So I also believe that it will not work, same as he believes it. Then later on, after 6 months, he called again and says, hey, Trevor, I think it's working.
Toe was die biologiese kontrole met die chemiese spuit dieselfde vlak gewees. Ek het net 6 maande vroeër was die chemiese plante nou al dood gewees. Maar nou is 3 jaar later, jou bossies is nog steeds dood, daar kom nog steeds die gras in nie. Ek dink die gifstowwe gaan maar in die grond in. En soos ek sê, dit was 'n R250,000 se operasie saam met die arbeid wat Working for Water my mee gehelp het, wat wonderlik van hulle was. Maar ek sou vandag nie na daai opsie kyk nie.
So after it was released in the first farm, that became our reserve for that biocontrol. So we have to collect it from that area to the next farms. We actually use teams which we harvest the infested pieces of the cactus plant with the biocontrol. We transport it to the next farm. We are using tongs or bright tongs to actually carry the cladodes or the joints. So we actually stick that piece into the new plant. This cochineal insect will by itself climb to the top of the plant, then they fly to the next plant.
The cochineal insect spreads by wind, by air. So you don't need to put the insects out on every single plant. You put it out on every 20 meters maybe apart. In the case of boxing glove, in the hot, dry areas of the country like Northern Cape, it usually we have fantastic results in 2 or 3 years.
Initially, it is very difficult to convince a farmer that biocontrol it is something that can work.
Trevor het hier aangekom, ons het mekaar ontmoet. Ek het gedog hy gaan vir my 'n spesifieke gif of iets bring om die kaktusse uit te roei. En toe het hy nou hier met 'n boksie vol plantjies aangekom met een of ander gogga op die lys op die plantjies. En ek was in die begin maar baie skepties oor die ding. Ek het gedink dit gaan 'n tydrowende besigheid wees en dit gaan nie baie effektief wees nie. Maar ons het dit toe nou probeer, ons het dit goed opgesit en hulle het begin aanteel en op jou tweede jaar toe kon ek duidelik sien dat daar van die kaktusse besig is om dood te gaan. En dit is baie effektief, so ek sou dit aanbeveel. Ja.
There is no cost involved. Well, once you've got a small feeder population of it, it spreads itself. The one patch we've got is almost 5 kilometers from the house. And from there to where the next one is almost a distance of 2 or 3 kilometers. And about last year, we were discussing whether we're going to take a portion and go and put it on the plant. And then we had a look at the plant and said, but hang on, it's there already. There's no need to do anything. I myself am convinced it's possibly the best route one can take to get rid of the boxing glove.
Dit is sien hy begin om te dood. As dit sommer maar vir ons 'n verligting en heeltemal baie goed gewees. Sommer 'n verandering ook gewees. Dit is 'n uitstekende werk wat kom gedoen is met die goggetjie.
Al die nuwe klein plantjies wat opkom, word aangeval. So jy het nie nodig om weer terug te kom met chemiese spuitmiddels, weer spanne op jou plaas toe te laat om daai chemiese spuit te doen nie.
Nadat ek sien hoe die koksiniel die plantjies aangeval het en alles begin verdroog, is ek baie bly ek het met die proses begin. Dit lyk baie skoner. Ons het minder probleme met die diere rondom die werf. Ons kan nou gemaklik boer hier. So dit is vir my 'n baie positiewe ding dat ek daarmee begin het.
Biocontrol doesn't eliminate the target, and I think that's a really important idea to get across to people, is that it isn't sweeping the kitchen clean. All it's doing is putting a bit of pressure on the shoulders of the target plant, the invasive. So it doesn't use all the water, it doesn't eliminate all the other plants around it. Really what we're doing is you've got to imagine that the target plant has a very high population. We bring in an insect that pushes that population down to a new level, and we call that a new equilibrium. And we never eliminate it. And then what happens is that those two organisms, the target plant and the agent, stay in this new equilibrium ad infinitum. And what's important about that is that the plant is always there for the insect. So the insect population persists forever, and we don't have to reintroduce and go through all these mechanisms again. The system is self-maintaining and is there forever.
And one large, 11 ventilators.
Okay, go on. In any project in biological control of weeds, you have to include a monitoring process of quantifying what is happening to the weed population. Without that, you have no evidence that your project is a failure or a success. So in this case, we also use the transect method, which is a standard method in plant ecology to measure changes in populations over time.
Biocontrol is obviously a very important part of the South African management of alien weeds. We've had a 100-year history of releasing insects against alien weeds, and we've released over 106 agents against around about 48 plants. And of those 48, 10 of them are under complete control. We don't have to use any other method to control those. And the rest, those insects are contributing substantially to the control of those plants. We're really good at it, and we must accept that, because there's still a massive amount of work to be done on cactus. Even though cactus is one of our major success stories, there are many other species of cactus around the country that need more work. They need more agents.
The results speak for themselves. Biocontrol is the most affordable, effective, and sustainable method of managing unwanted populations of invasive plant species. The ongoing work of SANBI, the Agricultural Research Council, and affiliated universities is invaluable in the fight against alien plants in South Africa. The generous financial support from the Department of Environmental Affairs enables further biocontrol research, as well as early detection and rapid response programs.